That doesn't mean we've started, but my mate Marco says to just start recording from as soon as possible, and he's
Yeah,
never
no
wrong.
worries.
Yeah, 4 games in 7 nights just never happens in the WNBL, I feel.
Yeah, it was pretty madness. At least
Yeah.
three of them were at home, so there wasn't as much travel, but it was still crazy.
Yeah, I was looking at your fixture overall, and your away games are really front loaded, like at the start of the season. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know. What would you prefer? Like home games at the start, or home games at the end, or it doesn't matter really?
I think it doesn't matter. I think it's good for fans to like kind of have them spread out
Yeah.
throughout, but um, like obviously having three games in 1 week for fans also makes it hard to get to all three
True.
games. But like with the Kings game, we had 5,000 people at our game, which was
Mm,
awesome on Sunday. And then we're definitely building. We've got more members than we've had in a very long time this season. So, I think we're playing an exciting brand of basketball that the fans are getting around.
mm,
Um, but in terms of how I would like it, I definitely like it a little bit more spread out, just with the travel. I mean, we've gone to Perth twice.
true.
Um, yeah, it's just the schedule. It hasn't been ideal for anyone, and I shouldn't complain because I have the best job in the world. But it does. It's not the schedule's not always conducive to great basketball, I
Mm,
think.
true, true. Yeah, I guess Melbourne have all their home games in either December or Jan this year. And it's pretty compact. And like as someone that wanted to get into a flow of covering the games, I guess it was good for me. But uh yeah. Yeah, they're on the road heaps and they're home for a while and then they're going to be on the road for the rest of the season after Wednesday. But yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
that's crazy.
as someone that just
It's
sits and
also
watches, sorry.
I've also played in Melbourne, obviously, for most of my career. So just even like not having three teams in Victoria with the travels, heaps different. Like it's a
Mm.
massive advantage being one of those Victorian teams, because you don't have to like get on a plane every other week.
Yeah. Yeah, like Perth has to cross the coast like every away game other than Adelaide. I remember their first game in Melbourne this year. I don't know if this is common for them, but they flew in and flew out like right before the game and right after. Like
On
surely
the
your
same
body.
day.
Yeah, yeah. They arrived from the airport and then flew like they went straight back to the airport and then flew back that night.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. They would have like passed out that night.
As a player, like it's always good to get back home. So like the first
Mm,
flight out, I love that, but definitely like to get there at least one night before to settle in.
mm. Yeah. They ended up winning anyway.
Yeah, they
Uh
had a really good start to the season.
Yeah, they've been dipping off since. I guess that might be a good place to start it. Welcome
Yeah.
back to the W. Sorry, listeners, it's been 6 weeks since you've had this show specifically, but you've had all the other great shows, me and Marco, Sean, etc., etc. Today's really exciting though, bringing in the new year with Australian Opals captain Tess Madgen. Tess, how are you today?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Cool.
And yeah, we were just talking about your round. Oh no, sorry, we were just talking about the slipping Perth Lynx, but your round 12, you had near identical scores in both of those games. But before we get to those games, you're finally in the top four on Monday. And so yeah, how does it feel to like be in the top four rather than the outside looking in?
It definitely feels good, but we have a massive game coming up this weekend against Southside. So I don't think anyone's really paid too much attention to where we are on the ladder for the whole season, really. We just wanted to stick around 500, and we knew that once we were all healthy out on the court together, that everything would come together. So the top four doesn't mean much if we can't get this win on Thursday night against Southside. I think if we're able to do that, being in the top four, we'll feel a lot better.
Mm. And in round 12, you beat the Lightning 88-65 and then the Capitals 90-65, but they both were completely different games. But what would you say was key in both of those wins?
I think our defense is really coming together. We look super solid at that end of the floor. We play pretty aggressive on ball defense, which is different to most of the teams in the league. Most of the teams either ice, like force people away from using the on ball screen, or they do a drop. And we obviously, I'm not dropping any secrets here. Everyone that scouts us knows we like to hard hedge, and we switch a fair bit. So I think those two things are coming together really well at the defensive end, and we've got Dee Dee Richards defending the fours, who's so active with her hands, picks up a lot of deflections. Obviously, Kayla George does as well. So I think it really started really with our defensive end, and then we're able to get into a really nice flow on offense. And in both games, you saw we had multiple players, 5 or 6 players each game in double figures. And I feel like that energy kind of flows into our offense, and we're super aggressive. We cut really hard. We pass the ball well. And when we're all in that kind of mindset, I think we're a really hard team to beat.
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, we could see that last round and even round 11 as well. I would say, yeah, the D has been really strong and you've been really cohesive. And offensively, I think the difference I've seen in the last few rounds and last few games as compared to the start of the season is like if an action isn't going, you'll just go away from it. Like I feel like there was a bit of forcing the issue. You might lose, 2 seconds, which ends up being potentially two good looks. And yeah, like I can imagine so many times Kayla having it at the top of the key, something's not going one side, like just turn around
Mhm.
straight away, hand off, pass to someone, pass to you or Didi on the wing. And I think this is the product that like your team was capable of all season. So it is nice to finally see it coming together. It's nice to feel it finally coming together.
Yeah, 100%. That Canberra game was one of the funnest games I've played in a really long time. So I've said that multiple times, but it was just super fun to see everyone playing super great at both ends of the floor. And I think, it is a whole new team. There's a couple of core players returning from last year to the Sydney Flames, but for the most part, the whole starting five have never played together. And so it was always going to take some time. And then obviously I've had a very disrupted season with the injury. We haven't had Shanice Swain yet playing. So,
Mm,
take out two marquee, or I guess two of the better players out of any other team, and they're going to struggle to win. So
mm,
we did a really, really awesome job for a very long part of that stint being injury disrupted, and we've picked up enough wins to really have a shot at the playoffs.
mm. And would you say it is that health and the D that's been the difference over the past couple of weeks, or are there any other contributing factors?
I think just the time that we've had to gel together on and off the court. Guy put in a couple of different things, like what you said about moving the ball from one side to the other quickly. We always wanted to do that, but it wasn't really working. So, Guy is just a mastermind, and he put in a couple of different things, and definitely having Kayla facilitate a little bit more at the top of the key. She's obviously a phenomenal passer. That's really brought the best out in her, and I think everyone else around her as well. We have such versatile players. Like Dee Dee loves cutting. She's really good off the dribble. Loz is good at everything. Me and Paige probably prefer a bit more on balls. Kayla, can roll, pop, and facilitate, which is such a great thing to have as a five. And then those players coming off the bench know exactly their role. Like Emma Clark comes in and knocks down triples. Vanessa's just an awesome backup point guard, and she can shoot the ball really well as well. And Kira just always finds a way to impact the game in whatever the team needs at any given time. So I think it's really exciting time to be a Flame, and seeing it all come together like we saw last week in last round. We just really need to reproduce that for this round.
Yeah. Yeah, there's anytime any Flame or actually any Las Vegas Ace
Sorry,
backdoor cut.
I should say about Lara as well. Lara has had the best preseason I've seen anyone have, and I know that she's going to have a massive impact on the WNBL. It's really hard playing behind someone, a
Mm,
WNBA champion, but she's the ultimate teammate, and she adds something different to Kayla. She sets screens really well, rolls really, really hard, and is really good at our on ball defense. So I have no doubt that if she keeps working hard, her time is coming.
yeah. Yeah, it would be impossible to back up Kayla. Um, but yeah, as I was saying, anytime you see a Flame backdoor cut or an Ace backdoor cut in the WNBA, Kayla's looking for it, and like breaks the other team apart every single time. And like they got to know it's coming, but like she still finds the pass and it's like, oh shit, they're in like scramble mode after that. Um, but yeah, in the last round, you came up against Jade Melbourne and Isabel Borlase. And I have three questions about that in, the current context of Aussie basketball. What's it
Mhm.
like as the Opals captain, seeing such good young Aussie talent? What's it like as a member of the Sydney Flames coming up against them and shutting them down? And then what's the transition like for Tess Madgen from being their opponent to being their teammate in the space of a few days?
Great questions. I think when we match up against any team, there's obviously we the work goes into a couple of players that we really want to shut down, and so to have 19 and 20-year-olds as those players that we really want to shut down is a huge credit to them.
Mm,
But I think when our defense is humming, we're really like it should be an offense's nightmare to come up against us.
mm,
So. Um, Izzy's tough. She's just so tough. She's so controlled and strong in getting to the basket. She can shoot the three ball as well, and then she's also a great defender. So I'm super excited for the Opals for what the future holds for her. I think, she'll be a mainstay for a very, very long time to come. And then exactly the same as Jade. Um, Very different, but they do kind of the same things. Like Jade loves to get to the ring. She uses her speed. She shoots the three really well. She's being a great facilitator for her caps. I'm super excited to see that coming to the Opals team. She's young, but she's very smart and she's a great floor general. And I think the WNBA really helped her
mm,
to have the confidence to be able to do that, tell people where to go. Obviously, it helped improve her offense and her defense because she's playing against the fastest, quickest, best players in the world, day in and day out. And then how I become their teammate. Well, whenever an Opal comes into town, I try and take them out for breakfast or a coffee. So I took, especially Izzy, it's her first time representing Opals.
mm.
So Izzy and I spent about an hour and a half at a cafe the night after the game. So if we lost, I'd still like to hope I would have done that. But Izzy was, when you're young, I feel like you get over things a little bit quicker.
Mm,
And then in the middle part of your career, they tend to linger a bit. And now that I'm older again, I get over things a little
mm,
bit quicker as well. We have a bit of a better perspective. So, took her out for breakfast, just talked to her, tried to get to know her a little bit better so we can hit the ground running when we go to Brazil in a couple of weeks. And, Jade, I love Jade. I call her once a week, check in on her, see if there's anything I can help. I know we're opponents, but, she will be a leader of the Opals one day.
mm,
So I mainly just check in with her about how I can help with her leadership. Does she need any help? But she's always got everything under control. And she's just like an instant mood lift whenever you hang out with her.
mm.
So, yeah, couldn't speak highly enough of both of them.
Yeah, in that leadership role in the context of the Opals, and kind of what it might mean for Jade one day, how did the Opals captaincy come about for you? And was it something that was discussed over the space of a few years, or do you feel like it happened quite quickly?
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't discussed over the space of a few years. When I first went into the Opals program, the leadership, I guess how the coach wanted to do the leadership piece has changed. When I first went into the Opal squad, Carrie Graff was the coach, and then I've obviously had Brendan Joyce and now Sandy. So it's definitely changed. I think um, when Sandy first got the job, Jenna was the captain and she was a great captain. And then when Jenna stepped away, they changed kind of the structure and they voted in a leadership group. So every staff and every player had four votes, I think, 4, 3, 2, 1. And they voted, and the leadership group was decided of Steph Talbot, Sammy Whitcomb, and myself. And then right before the World Cup in Sydney, Sandy announced me as the captain. So um, for this tournament coming up that we're going to in that kind of period of time, Sammy Whitcomb was the captain, and then Kayla George and I were co-captains for a Japanese series, and then we did the leadership group vote, and then I got named captain, which was a massive surprise, I suppose. Like I never envisioned myself being the Opals captain. Um, yeah, it's obviously, sorry, every time I speak about this, I get a bit emotional.
It's all right. We can take 5 if you want.
That's all right.
The NBA moves so quickly these days, it's hard to keep up. Shams and Woj are breaking stories left and right, but the Quick Time Out is right there with them to keep you informed on the latest NBA news. Stop in and let us break it down as it happens. Find the Quick Time Out on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
I'm very honoured and proud to be the captain of my country, and it's definitely something I take very seriously. I kind of never asked for this. Being a captain is a huge responsibility, and yeah, it's something I take very seriously, and I'm very, lucky to be able to do. But I've also had a lot of experiences through my time, lots of ups and downs, which have definitely helped me be able to relate with a lot of my teammates and try and get the best out of them. I also couldn't do it without Sammy and Steph. They're great in the leadership group as well. And then, being the captain of the Opals, everyone is an amazing leader in their own right, from 1 all the way through to 12. So it does make my job a lot easier having such great quality character people. And I think Sandy's done a really good job over her time as coach, is really stamping out any bad behaviours, and that makes my job a lot easier. Obviously, having Lauren Jackson by my side, one of the past captains of the Opals, also really helps. Trish Fallon, who is our team manager, we're so lucky to have her. She's been a captain as well. So I've got so many people to lean on around me, and it definitely makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah, you touched on it, but like for my whole life, and I'm sure for my parents' lives, the Opals have just always been stacked. And yeah, there's always going to be a few players that, are like quote unquote snubbed, but like it's kind of an embarrassment of riches, which is where you want to be for any sport, really. But how do you, as the captain, toe the line of competing for a spot while also knowing you are like the captain of the team? How do you navigate that?
Well, I think, I really try and, sometimes it's probably annoying to people, but I really try to have no entitlement within the squad. So everyone is out there equally fighting for their position, and we're only going to be as good as the worst person at practice. So the standard needs to be really high. Everyone should be happy that the person next to them is, making it really, really hard for them to make the team. And so that's something I really try and encourage, and it's definitely something that I preach. I think being a leader, you can't ask anyone to do anything that you're not willing to do. So I always try and be the hardest worker at practice, the loudest talker, and then off the court, really try and build those relationships up, and use my time, when we're on camps, when we're away, when teams fly in to Sydney, to try and catch up with people and build those genuine connections, because that's really where the culture starts, is people knowing that, I have their back, and so then they're going to have my back, and then they're going to have the next person's back. So I love it when trainings are hard. The two people I have to train against most time at Opals camps is Sammy Whitcomb and Christy Wallace, and they're two of my greatest friends. And I feel like we go at it at practice, and immediately off the court, we're laughing with each other. And I think that's a sign of really good culture, but also really, really great quality people as well.
Going back to getting voted in as captain, what's that feeling like, knowing that like the team and the players and the staff like voted you in rather than you being selected?
Yeah, it was amazing. I would way rather it be that way. It really gave me the confidence that they liked. I wasn't trying to be the captain, so I just tried to. And Sandy told me a lot: just be yourself. Like, you got voted in this for a reason. So you don't have to change anything. You don't have to go be anyone that you're not. So by being voted like that and so transparent, it really gave me the confidence to keep doing what I was doing, and I didn't have to reinvent the wheel to make a positive impact for the team.
And yeah, looking ahead to the Olympic qualifying tournament in Brazil, how long will you and the team be there ahead of time? And then how long will you spend in Brazil, I guess?
The Australian contingent get in, oh goodness, on the second, I think, or the night of the first. So
Mhm.
we have a fair bit of time before our game. There's some European players that aren't going to be released until a little bit later, but
Mm.
we can get the bulk of the work done before that. Obviously, it's not ideal how far we have to travel. So
Yeah.
we've got quite a bit of work to do in a short amount of time before that first game hits. But, this team, most of the players have played together for quite a long time. And with the limited preparation time, I have no doubt that, that's why the team was selected. And so I'm really excited. We have not all been together since the World Cup, and
Mm.
obviously we came third there. So we know we have the team, the right players, the right team that we need to get the job done. And it's also really exciting to see some new players coming to the fold that can hopefully make a positive impact.
That's the life of being an Aussie, like not just an Aussie basketball, but like everything is so far away. And
Yeah,
like anytime you meet someone like from another country, like, God, you guys are really just not on the other side of the world. It's like, yeah, we know.
yeah,
We know. It's the one
yeah.
thing we all know. Yeah, our squad is huge as well going into Brazil. Um, yeah, what are you excited for this team specifically heading over to Brazil?
I'm excited always for what we can do on the court, and I'm excited for that core group of players to get back together after we saw each other in Sydney. So that's what I guess I'm most excited about. But it's always such a great time playing for the Opals. Obviously, it's the best team that we could play for, and I think it really brings out the best in everyone. It really does feel like a sisterhood, like we're not making that stuff up.
Mm,
The connection you get, I think, helps bring out the best of you on the court as well. So that feeling that I get can't be replicated anywhere else, no matter how hard I try. And I think that's what I'm most looking forward to is getting back to work. Achieving what we need to achieve. We need to win hopefully all three games, but we definitely need to qualify for the Olympics. So that will be the main target. We've already started our work, like we've started scouting as players, watching the other teams. You commented on the team that we're taking is quite tall. So Brazil are massive. Germany are really tall across the whole starting five. So yeah, I think with that in mind, we have the right team to go and get the job done.
mm. And you touched on it about being a genuine connection throughout the whole team. That is definitely the case. I got to cover the World Cup in 2022, and that feeling was just in the arena, and you brought everyone along for the ride. And yeah, it was like that. Yeah, there was a genuine connection, not just from the players, but like to the fans. And like, I don't know, I feel like, I don't know, it's hard to make that, and you guys just killed it with doing that. And yeah, even the Matildas last year, like I think that's the most I've ever seen Australia come together for anything. And I was away for most of it, but then I flew back in the middle of August, and I was like, I landed, and everything was like people going crazy for the Matildas, and I was like, damn, I know I was like, traveling Europe and having the, best summer of my life. While everyone else was like dying in the Melbourne winter. But I came back
Yeah.
and I was like, am I missing out?
Yeah, you
So
did
that
miss
was
out. Nah, no, I'm joking. Yeah, when I went to a couple of Matilda's games and I said to my partner, like, the feeling in the stadium, like you could feel it, how everyone was just, I saw that. You could feel how everyone was just like so about it. You could tell the players just loved each other. And he said, yeah, that's what it was like for you guys at the World Cup as well. So, I mean, that's probably what I'm most proud of as a captain is um, we want to make we knew we had a huge responsibility having a home World Cup to lead basketball in a better way than it was before it. And I think the amount of support we had in WNBL straight after that, the amount of
Mm,
support the Opals have had since, really shows the positive impact we were able to have. And being the captain of that team is probably what, no matter the rose gold medal was something good to keep, and a good memento of what we did. But even if we came fourth or fifth and we were still able to achieve that, I would have still been so proud of the team.
yeah, for sure. I have to ask, because I had to say I interviewed Kayla before the season started. And anytime I get to talk to an Opal, I need to ask about that China game. I'm sorry that I bring it
That's
up, but that was
okay.
like that was electric. I've never felt like that and I was like part of the media, so I was trying not to be a fan, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere the China fans brought was like crazy. They were like screaming everything at the top of their lungs. How, I guess, even not just as a player, but as a captain, trying to keep your team like steady in that environment. What are the biggest challenges in that specific environment?
I think as a basketballer, like we obviously call plays every time down the court. So we knew going into that game that we would feel like the away team. So
Yeah.
we knew that. The coaches did a really good job of putting all those play calls in. I don't think the crowd or the atmosphere was why we lost the game.
Yeah.
We obviously can learn a lot from that, and we just need to keep our composure a little bit better in those last 2 minutes. We set ourselves up so well to win the game, and then we just weren't able to capitalise on it. So we'll learn a lot and hopefully be better for it. But you couldn't ask for anything better than to play in an atmosphere like that. It was similar to playing in the 2018 World Cup. We had to play Spain. It was their home nation, and it was in the semi-final. So the exact same game, and it was so loud in there, 16,000 people, but there was hardly any Aussie fans. So we had no cheering or anything. So it was similar to that. Obviously, better to do it in your own country, but yeah, they're the two most memorable games in terms of atmosphere, crowd. It just makes your adrenaline pump. Like no matter how much work you do as a psychologist, how much mindfulness training you do. So you can only really learn from the situations once you're in them. And I have no doubt that the team will be better off for kind of letting it slip in those last 2 minutes.
Yeah. It also doesn't help when Han Shu doesn't miss and like you can't get to a shot even when she's having, a bad shooting night, which we didn't get to see. Oh shit, now I've lost my place. Han Shu, the Opals. Uh-oh, this is bad.
No, you're good.
This episode of The Deep 2 is presented by Gelateria Bico, the official gelato of The Deep 2. Gelateria Bico, handmade gelato in the heart of Brunswick.
You've touched on Brazil and Germany, and I got to cover Germany in Slovenia at the Eurobasket, and I really like what they're building. They definitely don't have the experience that we have, but they give themselves a good shot to win every game. And I also got to see Serbia, and Serbia at their very best is like, God, they just get under your skin and they just mess up the game and they junk it up and they make it hell. And like the worse it gets, the better it is for them.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess moving into our group, which country has your antenna up the most?
I think that first game, you've always got to be super cautious of the first game. It's really all I'm focused on right now because it's the first game coming up. And I feel like everyone kind of feels that way. It's their home nation as well, so they're going to be up and about. Brazilians are so passionate as well, like they fist pump after everything. So we really need to come in there and quieten the crowd, reverse that momentum super quickly. And then they're really tall, so they play a lot of zone. I don't think they're going to be able to defend us very well, so they're going to have to play a lot of zone. So we need to put in some, obviously get stops on defense and so we can run out and so they can't set up their zone. But, we've got so many great shooters in our squad on our team that I've no doubt we will be okay. We just need to keep our composure. And then we have a day off and then we play Germany, who kind of like you, like we've played Serbia so many times recently. I've never played Germany representing the Opals, so they're an up-and-coming team. They've obviously got the Sabali sisters. Satu's one of the best players in the world. She's so versatile. And then they've got Nayara, who Ezzy plays with at the moment for Prague. But then they've also got Firebig, who was out in Australia a couple of years ago, so people are probably a little bit more familiar with her, but she played in the NBL 1 on the West. And she was the MVP of the national championship and her team won it. And she was obviously a massive part of that. So, her and Sabali can be their 2-3s and they're tall. So they're very offensive loaded, but again, I have no doubt we can really utilize our strengths on our offensive end and capitalize on their defense.
And even their depth pieces like Emily Bessoir, who's unfortunately injured, and Lena Sontag, who's I think still 19. I got to see them at the Eurobasket, and they just like I think both 6'3" or 6'4", and like comfortable playing the two. Sometimes Bessoir would bring the
Yeah,
ball up. Sometimes Sontag would bring the ball up actually. But yeah,
yeah.
they're just like all around players. And
They've got that real modern basketball
mm,
positionless kind of vibes going on, which is always hard to play against. But huge credit to obviously what they're doing in Germany with basketball, that they've got such these tall, skillful, talented players coming through.
yeah, for sure. Uh, Going back to the Opals and going from being someone's opponent to someone's teammate, this is something that when I lost my place before, this is the question I was trying to come back to. But uh, Lauren Jackson, I feel like she's coming back into her form. The past 3 games, she's been really good. She was like so solid against Melbourne yesterday. Um,
Mhm.
and then yeah, in the bronze medal match at the World Cup, having 30, like what the hell, man? Like that's perfect. What an awesome uh conclusion to that story for the Opals and then also for her. Yeah, what's it like to play with Lauren Jackson, who spent 3 or 4 years, retired, and now she's back representing the Opals.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think she definitely adds an element to practice, to the game. She's obviously, I reckon, probably undisputedly the fiercest or top 5 fiercest women's basketballer we've ever had in this country, probably basketball in general. So she's fierce, she's tough, she's competitive, she takes no prisoners, and she's the best basketball we've ever produced. So playing alongside her, having her support, it really does make my job a lot easier.
Mm,
It just elevates the competitive nature of everyone when you have someone like that around you. We were scouting her today, and guy was like, well, she's been making this shot on people for 30 years. So
mm,
it's incredible how her career has had such longevity. She's had some horrendous injuries. Obviously,
mm,
just even what she had to go through this past off season, and you can see her coming back to her best now. But that, an Achilles rupture and a broken foot on 2 opposite limbs is like horrendous. So
mm,
just that in itself shows the tough mindset she has and how she's willing to, and she can go through anything and come out better for it on the other
mm.
side. So I can't wait to play with her again. Growing up, she was obviously one of my idols, many people in the teams, and to be able to watch your idol growing up and then be able to stand alongside them, singing the national anthem for your country
Mm.
is indescribable.
Yeah, yeah, what an awesome experience. And she like her return is really I feel like I can imagine her playing until she's 50. Like I can imagine
Yeah,
her playing in this role in this specific way. And when we pack, Kayla, Tolo, Alana Smith, uh I'm missing a pick.
Izzy.
Oh, Ezzy.
Yeah,
And LJ, like, yeah, I feel like that there's so much depth there that you can just pick them each for each matchup and play them for 20 minutes a night if you need, 5 minutes if you just need them for a 5 minute stretch. And yeah, that variability on the inside is such a strength. Because like the
yeah,
overlapping skill sets they have complement any like starting or any 5 player rotation. But then like Tolo's physicality, Kayla's mid-range, and like how dynamic she is offensively. Ezzy, is on her way to being the best defender in the world. LJ for
yeah.
the experience and just putting it all together and the physicality. And then Alana Smith moves like a guard. Like what the heck? Like players aren't just made like that. You need like there's like that little something else that she has. Um,
100%.
so yeah, yeah, I guess in this fantasy that LJ can realistically make it to 50 and the rest of the team can bring her along.
Yeah, I mean, what she's been able to achieve, I wouldn't put it past her. She's shown
Mm,
that she can really do anything. And yeah, I have no doubt that there'll be a game in these 3 games that she really needs to step up and bring everyone along with her. And as a guard, being able to play with 5 and then we also have Sarah Blitzards, who, if we really need, she can go into the floor as well. So being a guard and having those bigs around you makes your life so much easier. And then,
Yeah.
even the depth chart for the Opals, we have Zatina Akuso as well, Darcy Garvin, Lauren Scherf, Chloe Bibby, who's a bit more of a tweener. So, it's very positive, and it does make it hard for the selectors. But like I said before, you're only really as good as the worst person at practice, really. So it's such a good problem to have.
Yeah. Also, as you said before, sorry, I'm jumping around all over the place, but you said coming up against Brazil that they weren't going to want to guard us, not in as many words, but they wanted to play zone. That would be potentially their defensive strategy. In terms of going into a game like that where you feel like you have the advantage offensively, how much of that game plan and like leadership is empowering the players to trust in their own game and know that like you're going to make them have to guard you, and how much of that is like schematic, like how much are you trying to play on people like and like empower them, and how much is it like actual X's and O's?
Yeah, really good question. I think Sandy does a really good job of empowering people, putting people in positions that are their strengths. And so then, as leaders, all we really have to do is back up her message. She's already all over it, asking, what actions look good for certain players. And I love thinking about basketball like that. Like, that's one of my strengths, is my IQ. So I love that side of it. And I think that does help me be the best leader I can be, is having that kind of knowledge and knowing where people thrive, and trying to not put them in places where they don't like or where they don't thrive. So I'm just thinking they're going to do a lot of zone because that's what they did in the Americas when they couldn't guard people. So I hope they come out in man and we absolutely smack it. No one really loves playing against the zone for 40 minutes, but whatever they throw at us, we have the right, like you said before, with the posts, we have that with our guards too. Like, everyone brings something different. Everyone has their strengths. And so when any 5 combinations on the court at once, I feel like we really have everything covered. And that's what makes us such a hard team to play against, is we pride ourselves on our defense, and we're only able to do that, if all 5 people on the court have bought in, and then we can rotate quickly when people get tired. So it really is a team effort, and it's really, when you're playing for Australia, much more than when you're playing in WNBL or, in the WNBA, you have a role to play, and you're there to play that role to the absolute best of your ability. And it's why when you go play for the Opals, some people can really make it and some people struggle a little bit more, but you just have to buy into that role 100%. And not everyone can do it, and it is really hard. But the people that have, those careers of longevity within Opals, I think do that very well. They know what the coach wants. They know what their role is. They don't try and play outside of their box. FIBA basketball is so physical. So, like, the fouls I'm always complaining for in WNBL, there's no way they're getting those in FIBA. I remember in the China game, like, I literally got decked. Like, I got tackled to the ground, play on. So it's a whole nother level of toughness, of strength, and in your brain as well. Like, you have to be super strong, super tough, back yourself 100%, and then know that if you're having a bad night, the teammate next to you on the bench is going to have a ripper or rip snorter, as Kayla would say. So it really does take 12 people to have a positive impact in FIBA and get the results that you need.
Yeah. And you touched on it, but I feel like the commonality of Australian basketball, as long as I can remember, in any game, in any competition, any age group, is just like being as annoying as possible defensively. And, not that the offense is an afterthought, but that's, everything comes from, being stingy defensively and just making life difficult for the other team. And then you also talked about that empowerment on an individual level. And to bring it back to the Flames, I feel like that's also been something that's been evident in your games lately. I think especially you, Paige Bradley, and Dee is like, anytime there's only one player in front of you, it's like, how dare you only put one person in front of me? And the rest of the team is like, go, just get us the bucket. We'll get into our offense next possession down. And yeah, when you get back from Brazil, you have 2 games remaining in the season, plus this game on Thursday against Southside. How are you feeling about the run home after such a roller coaster of a season?
Great question. I'm just going to touch on Paige for a second there. I think she's been instrumental in, past month, how good we're playing. She's really found her feet in the WNBL. She was always more than capable of having this kind of impact. And I'm just so proud of her, of how she's stuck at it and the work she's put in to, lead our team and play, we like to call it Flames way. So, she's been massive. She's shooting the ball with confidence. She's driving to the basket. She's facilitating perfectly. So I love playing with her. I was on limited minutes for a little while, and I was rotating in as point guard or 2-3, and I was like, just please let Paige and Vanessa handle the point and let me find my feet a little bit. So absolutely love playing with her. But yeah, to answer your question, after the FIBA break, I think we have to win this game going into the FIBA break, or we've made life very, very hard for ourselves, and we can only really make playoffs if we win the 2 coming out. So ideally, we'd like to win all 3, but I just really hope we can go in with a big win. So, obviously Kayla and I and Guy are going away. Guy will be coaching the New Zealand national team, but having the win on Thursday night will be a lot nicer for the girls that are staying behind at practice, I think. Just mentally, it's always hard to train for 2 weeks. It's like a mini preseason during the season. But if we can set ourselves nicely up on Thursday, I think this little break going into playoffs will be awesome for us.
Yeah, awesome. And yeah, just finally, what lessons do you feel like the Flames have learned throughout the season, and how do you yourself feel like you've grown as a basketball player?
Oh, great question.
Thank you.
I think, it's been up and down with first my right knee, then my left knee. And so it's been really mentally challenging to stay positive and try and get myself out on the court, every week, and then being knocked back saying, no, you can't go this week, let's try next game. So I definitely feel like I've grown a lot mentally, and if a situation arose like this in Brazil or in the playoffs, I know I can play now. I can play, no matter how bad my body's feeling, I'm good to go. I can still produce at both ends of the floor. So that's been a massive positive for me. I think a lot of the time I do doubt myself. So just being like, nah, I'm good to go. I can do this is great. And it's a really great feeling to have. And I think, Guy's skill work that he does with everyone, you would be, I guess, not paying attention or not rocking up to practice, but everyone just grows as a player under his coaching. He really prioritizes skill development to put you in the best situations you can be on offense. And so we've seen just the development of our whole team's pick and roll game over the course of the season. We make really good reads now. We can score the person with the ball no matter what defense is doing. And he really gives us the confidence to be able to do that. So I feel like that part of my game's grown. And then, just my handle with the ball. I've said it before, but I wouldn't keep playing basketball if I didn't think I could get better. Once I feel like I've, reached my plateau, I'll retire. So I'm really glad to be able to reconnect with Guy this season and keep improving my game. He's the best skills coach I've ever had. So, and then the way he crafts that on offense and defense is unmatched. So I feel like probably my improvements over the season have probably been the same as the teams, like that pick and roll game, how much better we are at defense now. And being able to train against Lauren Nicholson every day at practice can only make you a better player at both ends of the floor. So that's also helped me a lot as well.
I think she's shooting like 35 or 6% from 3 this season, which has to be a lie. Or I'm blinking on 64% of her three-point attempts. Because that can't be true.
She hasn't missed many, has she? That's funny.
Yeah.
And I think, there was one game we were in Melbourne and Guy was like, Loz, you're our best shooter, shoot the ball. And then it was a game where she made 6 of 8 threes or something after halftime. So I think the way he's able to get the best out of everyone. And she's just having a phenomenal season. She can obviously shootout side, she's a phenomenal driver, and then her pull-up game is tough too. And then she does so much work for us on defense. She often has the best matchup from the other team and is consistently shutting them down. So her workload, like she has had to play 40 minutes multiple times and really being clutch at the end of the game. She's super fit. She's a lovely teammate. I obviously super stoked to be able to play with her this season, and she's definitely someone you'd way rather have on your team than not have on your team. And usually people say that about those, blue collar hard workers, but no, I'd way rather not have to guard her and have her guard me when I play against her. So being able to play against her at practice though has definitely improved my game for sure.
Yeah, that game in Melbourne, the Flames came out in the second half and just even in the first half, I think you were shooting 50% from three or something.
Yeah,
and
Emma Clark had a phenomenal night as well.
Yeah, I think she replaced Didi as in the lineup coming into the second half because I think Didi had 3 fouls. And I remember after the game, Chris Lukas said that he was happy because Kayla had like one made basket or something, and he was like, "We did the job on Kayla," and I was like, I think they did a pretty good job of you guys keying in on Kayla and just kicking
100%,
it out to shooters.
And Kayla facilitated at the top of the key that whole game, and she had a lot of assists. So
yeah,
I think that on our team, if they're not contributing points on the scoreboard, they're doing something else to contribute, whether that's rebounding, steals, assists. And we know that on any given night, it could be anyone's night, and we're happy for each other to succeed. So I think that's really come a long way in our game as well. But like I said right at the start of the podcast, I really think it is our defense and then that confidence in each other and that Guy has in us on offense has come together really well at the right end of the season.
Tess, thank you so much for your time. That was such a good episode. I really appreciate that.
Oh, you're so welcome, Lukas. Thank you for having me. And thank you for everything you do for us. We appreciate it.
Oh, stop. See ya.
See ya. Thank you.